right. Thank you so much. Of course, welcome to the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. It is the Richards twins in this morning. We just heard from Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll hear from Richard Ragobarsingh. Yeah. Ruben is in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. We'll keep you company until 9 o'clock this morning. Let me say good morning, good night to Paul Richards.
Morning, Steve. Morning, everyone.
Morning,
Good
pal. How you
Tuesday
doing?
morning to you. I'm good. How are you going?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's get straight into the meat of the matter. Let's see what's happening on the highways and on the byways for this Tuesday, which we have all realized is the heaviest day for traffic. And boy, what did it have some volume coming into Port of Spain this morning. At the time I left, it was slow going. Taking a look at the CR8 from Maloney to Piaco, Trinity City, Uwe, Valsain to Barataria, slow going. And then just before swim call into Port of Spain, it is slow going. Maraval, you're beginning to build. Charlieville towards the interchange, you've got some traffic there. And Chase Village towards Sugarguanas, also got some traffic there as well. All right, San Fernando, I got nothing really to tell you about. But let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning on the second day of May, Tuesday. First off the gate this morning, we've got Ken E., followed by Gotsilie and Maria Marva, Trevor Narima, Mo Gaines out in Aruca, Dennis, good morning, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida, good morning to you, Oliver Manwaran, Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona, CJ out in New York, Renu Halasi, that's DJ Ray out in Tampa, D. Pierre, good morning to you. It is 4 degrees in Toronto and a bit cloudy. It is 21 in Clet in Miami. Of course, Miami is. I wish I was in Miami coming up for this weekend. Formula One race is on in Miami this weekend. Orlando, you're 19. New York, you're 9. Atlanta, you're also at 9. London, coronation happening in 4 days. You're sitting at 12. Tampa, you're 21. And Washington, D.C., you're sitting at 9 degrees. It is 23 degrees as both Piaco and Crown Point. And let's see if the Met Office has updated their weather forecast for today. I don't know which day was hotter. Was it Sunday or was it yesterday? Yesterday was scorcher. I figured today they have not updated it, but I can just figure it's going to be the same today. All right. Yeah, scorcher. Which day was hotter for you, Paul? Sunday or yesterday? Sunday was hot for you?
Sunday was hotter to me.
Sunday was blazing. To me, I thought yesterday was, whew, that was some heat.
I think it's Brian Lara's birthday. If it is, happy birthday, Brian Lara.
It is. Let's check that out. Today, I think you may be right.
You've suddenly been muted for some reason.
Huh? No. I
I'm
think
not hearing you.
Um,
I don't know what you did.
I did nothing. I am all
I'm not
normal
hearing you.
here. No clue what's happening. But is today Brian Lara's
What did
birthday?
you do,
Let's
Steve
see.
Khan?
Nothing.
Well, I
I
was
don't know
sitting on
what happened there. Nothing has changed.
so, I don't
Nothing
know.
has
Check your
changed.
microphone system.
No, I'm good.
Open your mic on your computer feed then, in that case,
Oh,
please.
okay. All right. So there
There
you
you
go.
go.
You're
You're
hearing
hearing
me
me
there,
there.
but you're
I'm
not
hearing you
hearing
now.
me.
Okay, you can
Yeah.
turn off your microphone now. I'm hearing you
All
now.
right.
Turn off the other microphone. I'm hearing
When
both
you
now.
see that, user error. Today is Brian Lara's birthday. He's 54 years old. To wherever you are in the world, Mr. Brian Lara, the Prince of Port of Spain, happy birthday from all of us at the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Yeah, it is Brian Lara's birthday. That boy can real bad to them.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah,
But that boy can rail back.
that
He's
boy
not
can
the best
real bad.
batsman in the world, but that boy can rail back.
That boy can
That,
real
that,
bad.
that's the understatement of the year, Steve Khan.
I know. Rena Boodoo Jennings, good morning. Carol Guevara, good morning. Sankofa. Good morning. Um, I do not on my vehicle. Okay. I have no clue. Okay. I think that's more from your end, Sankofa. Yeah. All right. It is Tuesday, the second day of May. And I tell you, we are going to chat with Anita Haynes this morning. I also had a brief convo with the Minister of Education yesterday. Trying to get her on the program today, but she is swamped and would promise that she would join us sometime during this week. But
Just said
I won't
Paul
be
is
able
going to be
to.
absent, and you should have made time for you. Let's say Paul's going to be absent. You get
I'll try that next time.
say, but Paul's not going to be there tomorrow, so
Yeah, I'll
maybe
try
you
that next time. I'll just say be Richard and Wendell and see what happens.
exactly. Actually, tomorrow I'll be in transit, so I will log on
But
at
what
6.
the heck is this?
I won't be there for
Where
the
you
whole show.
going? Where you and Zena going?
Gina's taking me on a trip.
Zena's taking you on a trip.
Hmm.
And we know that she's taking you on a trip for sure, but tell us where you're going, Paul. Which part of the world are you traveling to? You said
Why is
tomorrow
it any
morning
concern?
you'll be
Why
in
is it any
transit.
concern of yours?
Not me, you brought it up.
But I just gave you a program advisory. I just said I won't be on for the
Marcos
whole
want to
show.
know.
I'm being courteous.
I should take a poll online. Do you all want to know where Paul is going? Yes or no?
They could want to know all they want. That doesn't mean
Tell
they
me,
will
do
know.
you want to know where Paul is going? Do you want to Marco where he's going? Yes or no? I could do that trip. I could do it Miami trip. Formula One on this weekend, man. Inaugural race. It'd be something.
So happy birthday, Brian Charles Lara. I think he's coaching one of the Indian sides, the Indian Premier League sides, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I usually watch the Indian Premier League, the IPL, but
Yeah.
I've been so busy. I haven't seen one game yet.
So I think
I know
he's coach. I
my
think he's the
father and
head
brother
coach for
are
one of
following it.
the teams in the Indian Premier League. I think I read that some time ago, and rightly so. I mean, brilliant batsman.
Yeah. I still like to watch sometimes this headline.
I'm not a cricket fan, but
Yeah, it come
I
up.
can still appreciate his amazing work.
Yeah, definitely want to go to. I think we have like 6 games for the CPL. I think it's 6. Could be subject to correction. I certainly want to take in at least 2 games and watch some cricket. I do like to watch cricket, because I remember Dad had tickets for. I grew up going to Dos Santos stand and watching cricket. You're taking your sandwiches and so on to cricket. That was some good cricket those days. That stand is no more. You should already build that oval needs a whole upgrade on that side. They need a new stand.
So what's happening in the news? All right, as
Let's
Mr.
see.
Martin
I totally
Lumsden told
agree
us.
with the parents of the Belmont School to let the children stay away. How could you, in your mind, Paul, send your kid, to school knowing that security is not a factor?
Well, I don't know that security is not a factor, and the security is a major concern.
It's a concern.
And you're right. I wouldn't say, given what's happened and the fact that according to the president of Tutor, who told us yesterday they made complaints for a long while to the
Yes, he
education
said yes.
about the hole in the fence, and now a gun-toting assailant has come in and threatened someone on the compound. I wouldn't send my child to school
Exactly.
at all until it's fixed and more security put. I wouldn't send my child to school because I'm basically sending my child into danger.
Exactly.
And well, and it's been going on too long. Or Brand Rares is coaching Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't send my children or my child to school in that environment. As a matter of fact, I'd be breaking the law and putting my child in danger, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be knowingly putting my child in danger because if somebody could totally walk in with a gun and threaten someone in the compound who had to beg for literally beg for their life,
Yeah.
um, what's next? A school child? No, nope. I
And when the
wouldn't do it at
perpetrator
all.
said, like, shoot him in his head. No, man.
I wouldn't do that. And then another situation yesterday where at the school in Caroni
Gandhi
uh,
Memorial.
had to be evacuated because men in two silver Toyota Hilux SUVs drove through a dirt road to get to a piece of land behind the Monroe Road Primary School at
I don't know.
10:30 a.m.
I don't know what's going on in this place. I really.
They knocked down a man and chopped a 38-year-old man in his left wrist. I don't know. And then a third man, Ronnie Pear, was shot and killed just right behind the school.
I feel it's okay, you know. The They don't care where it is. They just have to do what they have to do, and they don't care because in their mind they're not going to be caught.
No,
So
I think that's the bigger part of the problem.
yeah,
And they really don't think that they get the likelihood that they'll be caught is high. I mean, the
yeah,
police have made
exactly.
some. I think 2 weeks ago, police caught uh, s- criminals in some act. They were able to chase them and catch them. So it's not absolute, but I mean, it seems like when you think of the home invasions on a daily basis and the robberies and the assaults and the continuing increase in the murder rate, I mean, the criminals, sorry, could hedge their bets. Well, my odds of getting away are pretty high, so I ain't gonna take on
Yeah,
the police or anyone who is in law enforcement because, well, good, good morning to New Jersey, and Gloria Gray is sending love to her husband in South Oropouche, Andrew Sedeno. Good morning, Gloria and Andrew.
yeah, and Ray, Eartha
Good
Young.
morning,
Good morning.
Ursa Young. And good morning to Riri. You can also always send us messages via Facebook and or YouTube. Our YouTube stream goes from 6 to 8, Monday to Friday, right here. And of course on the Power 102 digital app and power102fm.com on our web page. Right? Yeah, they don't think they'll get caught. They're pretty sure in their minds that. And if they catch me anyway, I'll run chill out in prison with my friends and my colleagues and learn new tricks,
Mm-hmm.
and learn new tricks in the world of crime, come up with more skills, sadly. Um, Yesterday was May Day,
Yeah,
usually a big day for labor. I find the unions in Trinidad and Tobago very quiet.
yeah. The boy down like Baji in a
And
pot.
I don't understand how the unions are so quiet. Um, they were so much more active and vocal and visible so many years ago. And it's weird. It's just a weird thing that unions are this quiet in such a tumultuous time in the country. And I say that in the context that I don't think unions should only be commenting on labor issues, because crime affects labor,
Everybody.
cost of living, food prices,
Mm-hmm.
general economy issues. So I find
Mm-hmm.
there's so much, and the unions are so quiet. I wonder why. I don't know. I don't understand why they're so quiet when there's so much happening that is not productive in the country. I don't understand. So we heard a little people about them yesterday because it was May Day, but before that, when last have you heard? You heard some sputterings here and there. Ansel Roger quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's the other one? Roger. What? I go blank. You see,
Leo Ramgizuni,
David Abdullah and the MC have a weekly
MSJ. Yeah.
thing that that they do. So we get releases from them on a regular basis. But so many of the other unions are so dormant, if
Yesterday
even
was
so
a
quiet.
quiet day. Definitely was a quiet day yesterday. That's why I thought I haven't heard of any marches um, to be held yesterday. I thought it was quite quiet. Unlike France, who big riots in France because they increased their old age to pension to 64, retirement age to 64, up 2 years. And they're not happy about that at all. But here it's quite subdued. Good morning to you, Ms.
Michael
Maloney.
Anisette. Michael Anisette
Mm-hmm.
is the other one. No, haven't from him for a while.
Yeah, they're very quiet. Very quiet. All right. 22
And I
minutes
don't
after the hour
understand
of
why.
6
I get a
o'clock.
people from Aussie work yesterday, but only because it's made. I don't know what's going on with the unions and how they're so quiet. It's very, very weird. Right. Good morning, Marcia Rock and Carol Guevara. Thank you both for logging on. Yeah, they're just very, very quiet. Um, why are you waving so crazily, Steve?
I'm waving to our viewers. Good morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't spoken about this in detail. I have Richard logs on, but the more I read about this Brent Thomas situation, the more disturbing it sounds. Particularly after the High Court judge, excuse me, um, stayed the the criminal charges against Mr. Thomas, who's a firearms dealer, a licensed firearms dealer. And Mr. Thomas was arrested in Trinidad first, released,
Yeah.
was in Barbados. They went to Barbados, the law enforcement, I presume, and rearrested him and dragged him back to Trinidad and Tobago. And I have to look for the judgment. And the judge basically said the police operated outside the law. Um, they they went to great lengths, and I'm paraphrasing my thoughts on what I remember of the judgment here, to strip Mr. Thomas of his dignity and freedom. There are questions being asked about, given the High Court judge's judgment, now it's a lengthy judgment. Um, One of our ardent listeners sent it to me. Let me see if I could find it. Um, how and what process was used to extricate Mr. Thomas from Barbados? You know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thomas versus the issue. Let me go down to the part that to me is really disturbing. Yeah, and I don't think we're getting enough answers given the now public judgment and the chastisement of the execution of arrest warrants on October 6, 2022, and the charges were eventually read out on the morning of October 6th. Let me read. And I'm reading from the judgment here. Upon arrival into Trinidad at around 8 p.m. on the 5th of October 2022, the first claimant was taken to the St. Joseph police station, where he was kept overnight in a cell approximately 10 feet by 10 feet and formally charged, but not given a copy of the charges being laid against him. The charges were eventually read out on the morning of October 6th in the presence of the claimant's attorneys, right? Possession of prohibited weapons, a grenade not being exempted. Possession of a prohibited weapon, grenade, but they're going through all the list of grenades. A Sig Sauer 716 rifle, they give the serial number, and 3 of those CZ Scorpion rifle, right, and others. Bail with surety in the sum of $800,000 to be approved by the magistracy registrar, right? And going down to the real crux of it and the constitutional infringements. It's a really disturbing case, and now that the court has ruled, I I think I didn't see the press conference with the Ministry of National Security yesterday, to be fair. So Minister Hines may have addressed many of the concerns articulated.
I didn't hear
And
about. I didn't even know there was a press conference yesterday.
yeah, there was a press conference held yesterday. Minister Hines indicated that the inquiry into the firearms issues on the way and will continue. And a lot of it stems around the judgment now of the High Court judge. Right. So, arrest and detentions. It's a lengthy judgment, so please, I apologize for taking long to find it. All right. In this regard, the first claimant has sought the following declarations. The declaration that the failure of the TNT Police Service to promptly inform the claimant with sufficient particularity and the reasons for his arrest and detention on the 29th of September. The failure of the TT Police Service to allow the claimant to retain, instruct, without delay, a legal advisor. The decision by the DPP to prosecute the first claimant based on the charges improperly and illegally laid out against him, and a list of things. And then there's an application for the stay by his attorneys. Right. So I think, I really have to go and look at that press conference. I didn't have the time to look at it yesterday.
Let me see if I can find it here.
And then there were questions about was a commercial plane that he boarded at Piaco International Airport. How did he know to board a plane to go to Barbados together with Mr. Martin and Corporal Joffrey? All this is part of the judgment. Who or what was the cause of the first claimant's detention in Barbados? How did he come to know that the first claimant was detained in Barbados? And these are questions being posed to the authority. Basically, the judge, and Richard is here, chastised the police and also made a strong case for people to question the authority of the police in terms of how they acted in this particular case.
Is this the Brent Thomas case?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Morning, Richard.
Good morning. Morning, guys. Good morning, our listeners, wherever you are.
Yeah.
That's an astonishing.
Yeah.
And I know there was editorial on that particular case over the weekend. I think it was the Daily Express, where they said basically that it should be mandatory reading for every citizen in terms.
I mean, every police officer.
And because it really shows the lengths through which the state processes can bypass due process to achieve an end.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
When you read the chronology of events and the judgment of the justice in the High Court in terms of the interpretation of the law and the infringements of this man's rights, and he said, they went beyond that to strip him of his dignity
Yeah.
and his rights as a citizen. And a lot of questions have now arisen about this situation. And you're not hearing, in these cases, I would imagine you hear from the Commissioner of Police about if any lessons were learned, and or if she thinks that there are ways to But I mean, the court has given certain instructions, quite frankly. If there are ways to improve their operations in the future based on this really damning judgment, because it's a damning indictment on, in this particular case, the way the police carried out their duties. You know, it's a really damning indictment, and
Not
actually,
only, well, not only the Trinidad and Tobago police, the Barbados police
and questions about the kind of collaborations that took place there.
Yeah.
How
There
he
is
was, how he
there
was,
is a letter to
how he
the
was
editor.
apprehended, how he was brought back,
because
and
there is because the and I mean the whole issue of an extradition
an
treaty and
extradition
issues
basically.
just went straight out the window because they got a defense force plane. Well, I assume you went through all of the facts or a lot of the material issues that were raised, but they got a defense force plane, went to Barbados.
So the defense force was also brought into this.
Yes, yeah, because they got a defense force plane.
Which means the Barbados Ministry of National Security had to agree to a TT Defense Force, a military aircraft landing in their jurisdiction. They had to give a reason where they come in to extradite, take this man out of Barbados.
Without a court order.
It is
Without a court
mind-boggling.
So it seems
It is
it's
mind-boggling.
pretty bizarre. It's really bizarre, and you're wondering what were they all thinking, because it seemed to be so many missteps from so many state agencies in two countries.
Yeah.
But-
There's a letter of the day in the Trinidad Express regarding that. More to Brent Thomas, issue than meets the eye.
Well, if there's more from the
And it's from a
authorities,
retired
I
police
think-
officer, St. Joseph Clement Marshall. He wrote it.
It
There
could have
may be more.
there could
Clearly
be
more than
plenty
this.
more.
I can only go based on what the judgment. 'Cause I can't presume what is in the water in the vessel. Anybody can have a million conspiracy theories if the state, through the DPP's office and law enforcement, felt that this man was the subject of the interest of law enforcement, and the arrest warrants were made and the charges were laid.
That's
This
why
is
you
a
have
process.
due process for.
Exactly. But
That's
to
why
go the
we
length
live
of
in a system where there is something called the rule of law.
law,
And why the state authorities like the TTPS and the Barbados police have to have their actions set
Justifiable.
against rules
and laws.
that afford citizens or human beings certain rights. And so there is something called the rule of law in both countries.
Mhm.
So if you under what legislation are you bypassing the rule of law?
Clearly,
If it is that you're
according
saying X has certain identifiable criminal issues to answer to, there is
there's
a
a process.
process
There's a
to
process
achieve that.
here, laid out in law. Yeah, and we're both Commonwealth countries.
Yes.
So there's a particular structure that exists. It is actually, when you read it, it's a frightening indictment on what transpired there for any citizen. You understand? For any citizen, and as you said, if there have been identified potential breaches of the law, which the authorities felt that Mr. Thomas needed to be held accountable for, there's a process outlined in law for that.
To achieve that.
Yeah, there's a process outlined in law to achieve that. So I don't know. Is this, well, it's a high court judgment. Can it be bumped up? It can be appealed to the Privy
Yeah,
Council.
well, all judgments could go to the Court of Appeal.
Right. So I'm presuming that the state, if they don't accept, because if they accepted it, they've accepted the wrong
Well, the
perpetrated against Mr.
prosecution
Thomas.
agreed on certain points.
So Mr. Thomas,
Prosecution agreed on certain points that the judge raised there.
yeah. It is bizarre. It is bizarre to say the least.
Reading.
and frightening, because you see, people always look at it, well, it's him and the supposition. Well,
It's not me.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a mentality in Trinidad, because because law enforcement apprehend you and arrest you and charge you whether you're guilty. Yeah? There's a presumption in this country. Yeah? You must do something that take them off, and people don't
Yeah, and it
understand the
cannot be a
process.
presumption, and
Yeah,
and it
well,
cannot
in
be a
Trinidad and
presumption.
Tobago,
You
very
presume
often,
innocent, and
there's
and any lawyer you speak to in Trinidad and Tobago, especially a lawyer who's dealt with criminal law, will tell you that there are many cases, or let me not use the word many, but there are
cases.
cases where people are sometimes sent before the court because the policeman vex and give you a charge,
Yeah.
and has given you
Well,
a charge that absolutely has no merit, but you now have to suffer the inconvenience of going to court, getting a bailer, meeting bail requirements.
in some cases,
That happens.
your civil
And if you
liberties
think
are,
that that does not happen, well,
yeah.
you're way down the rabbit hole. How are this
Until
going?
it's your
How are this
your
going?
family.
That's all I
Yeah.
can say.
Until it's you or your family,
You
you
so
don't
far down
know.
the rabbit hole, you and Alice are friends.
Yep.
If you think that that does not happen in a Trinidad and Tobago setting, and not even a Trinidad and Tobago setting, that happens around the planet.
Yep.
Look at the United States and all of those cases, even the cases of black men and women being shot
And killed.
and killed, yes.
And killed.
So you don't think circumstances
Stranglehold.
like that don't happen in Trinidad and Tobago? Of course
Knee
they
on
do.
neck. Thank God. Yeah,
I
don't think
mean,
that police
but,
overstep.
but there, so there
And you
are
see,
circumstances where state authorities can overstep the line.
in the absence of, as I said just before you came on, a statement by the head of the police service, the commissioner of police, about this damning situation, or the authorities, there's an erosion of confidence in the system. Well, I know people look at things through political lenses and say, oh, but I just think that, it is such a damning indictment on the potential for the infringements of rights in this country. And that is, and I know most people wouldn't have cited the judgment, but if you sit down and you read it, it should send chills through your spine as a citizen who could suffer potentially the same situation as Mr. Thomas.
Yeah. You can put Baba. There's no reason that power that you can't put it up on the website.
We can.
Yeah.
I'm told it's a regional security services, not a TTDF aircraft. It's a CARICOM aircraft.
Well, I saw something on social media saying that, well, alleging that Minister Stuart Young said it was a CARICOM aircraft. I mean, and if that is true, and I don't know that it's true, it means
What's a
that
CARICOM aircraft?
I don't know what that is. I never heard about a
I
CARICOM
do,
aircraft in my
yeah.
life.
I've never heard of
First of
that.
all, what is that? What is a CARICOM
But
aircraft?
let's just say it's not the implication. It is not a TT Defense Force aircraft. It means there's a rolling back of involvement. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So what craft was used to go to Barbados and bring Mr. Thomas back to Trinidad and Tobago? No, sorry, drag him back. He didn't come. I'm sure he did. He didn't want to come back.
Without
He
due
had to comply.
process. Without, if it is that you have certain evidential, you have met certain evidential barometers in terms of some criminal offense that Mr. Thomas has to answer for, there is a process to get him out of Barbados.
It's almost like a CIA extradition.
And it's not, it does not involve taking him against his will and throwing him on an aircraft and bringing him back. That's not the process.
And keep in mind, this ordeal is since October last year.
Yeah, September, October, somewhere around there, yeah.
So all this time, while we're going about our lives, this man is going through this ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
And
His
the damage to
business
your personal psyche and your professional reputation. And I'm not saying
his business
and
is doors are
important
closed
in the sense
shut.
of it. We are talking about the judgment here and the process used, which according to the judgment was, this is the most mild description, terribly flawed. And as you said, Richard, the prosecution agreed with some of the points in the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what the hell? I don't know. Anyway, One of the interesting international news bits that has come out in the last couple of days is that there's a man called Dr. Geoffrey Hinton. He is a digital scientist, one of the top, some perceive him as one of the top AI, artificial intelligence, and neural network scientists in the world. And the work he's done over the years has basically paved the way for artificial intelligence and chat GPT. And he resigned from Google in the last week, saying that the kind of developments he's seeing has him really scared. And he
Remember
says
this
these,
all, remember this all got prominence and started to get prominence. This whole AI conversation. I mean, AI has always been a conversation. Let's not. It's always been a
neural networks is
conversation.
not new. Neural
Yeah,
networks are
it's
not new.
always been AI has always been a conversation, and that started off in fiction and has come into reality. Um, even if this is the intermediate stage, let's call it that.
But you will
When
know as
that
an
when
engineer.
that in when that software engineer was he a software engineer, whatever his
Yeah.
title was in Google, and left because he said that it was sentient, and he started to say that the because he worked for Alphabet, I think, which is a division of Google, and he was saying that he was dealing with the artificial intelligence that Google was creating, and he said that in his opinion it had become sentient. And remember, he was put on administrative leave or whatever, and he started to make the round of news talk shows and whatever. That's when the conversation hyped up in terms of it. And then what? A couple of years later on, you have now ChatGPT, and it's not only ChatGPT. There are other
But Google is
varieties
There's
rolling out their
Google
own thing
of
AI.
too.
AI that is going on. But I know Google has one called Bard, I think,
Yeah.
BARD.
Yeah.
But you have to be on a waiting list to experiment with it.
Well, they're all basically beta at this point before they
Yeah,
start to charge money for it. Get you hooked in it and charge money for it.
yeah. But I know Bard is in beta form, and you have to be on a waiting list, and the waiting list is not for anybody in Trinidad and Tobago because I tried. But
As you would.
Why am I not surprised?
so yeah, so the conversation is ramping up, and so at what point, and there is something called the Turing test that they say that if AI passes the Turing test, it can be considered, I believe, sentient. I know there are more geeky people than me out there listening.
What
Um,
what is it doing?
well, now it's let me give you let me just bring it up on my phone. I don't want to say it wrong. Um, Turing test. The Turing test is a method of inquiry in artificial intelligence for determining whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like a human being.
And that's where sentience comes in.
The test is named after Alan Turing, the founder of the Turing test, and an English computer scientist, um, cryptanalyst, mathematician, and theoretical biologist. I forget what exactly the Turing test, what it does, but it's certain questions that it's asked. Let me see if I could get. Okay,
So it tests
it's too much.
if
It's too much
the machine
already.
is capable of
It's too
independent
much to really
thought.
get into now, but it's a test
It's
that they
tests
would use.
if the network is capable of independent thought in a kind of way
Yes,
to generate independent thought, not originally programmed by a human.
yes.
Okay, so
So
that is
certain
basically
key
so.
tests that's done, um, and it's not all encompassing. There may be limitations, I guess, but it's the first benchmark of moving towards calling an artificial intelligence sentient.
Well, Dr. What's his name? Dr. Hinton says uh, that AI chatbots are quite scary in his opinion, and he should know he's one of the foremost experts on it. He says they're not as yet more intelligent than humans, but they may soon be. Because it's a
Well,
field that's growing.
you remember, I told you that there was a 60-minute program.
I saw it. I
where
saw
they
it.
talked to Sundar Pichai and all of that. And they were going through, and they were saying it's something that's coming sooner rather than later. And
He said
Sundar
it's
Pichai
scary but
went through,
exciting. Yeah.
but Sundar Pichai said it's something that it's as going to be as transformative to human civilization as fire.
And fire has been good and bad.
Mm-hmm. But
I
is
don't
that
know.
more good?
I think we're beyond the point of if now. It's about when,
Yeah,
from what I'm seeing. Anyway, you have papers.
I certainly do. Because I'm a
The
guy like
Trump,
that.
there's a question. There are two possible questions. One, I see David Abdul is calling for campaign finance law again, which is always a conversation that comes up. I know
Which
this
is something
particular
that always
issue,
comes up in every general election and so
yeah.
on.
And then they do it. And
Everybody
also
saying yes.
the issue of Brent Thomas, and or the issue of parents keeping their children away from schools that they think are unsafe.
All right, which
Because
is what happened in Belmont Secondary yesterday.
and also close to a school in Central, where a man was killed and the teachers are traumatized and the students are traumatized.
Oh, well, that certainly is on the front page of the Daily Express this morning
Yeah,
as I move into
let's
the
go.
newspapers. So, of course, today is Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. Murder trauma at school. That's the headline that the Daily Express went with. Man gunned down outside Monroe Road Primary. Horrified dad. Children may have had their first viewing of a dead body. You know, you want to say, what the hell is Trinidad coming to? But
The children are
saying that sentence is like, you need to
chilling.
go back in time and like 10, 20 years ago, you need to say that sentence. But it's crazy. So that's the main headline. In fact, there's no other subheadline. That's the headline. Man gunned down outside Monroe Road Primary, murder trauma at school. That's the main headline. And on the back page of the Daily Express, mission accomplished. SSCL boss expresses satisfaction with post-COVID season, and Brogel denies Clark ITF sweep. And that's it for the front and the back of the Daily Express today. Moving on to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Kamala slams PM for linking her crime comments to race. Apologize or face court. That's the headline on the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Accuses Rowley of inciting public with false claim. Says now is not time to stir up strife and hatred. All of that is on the front page. Pupils traumatized as man killed outside school. That's a subheadline. Government hopes to end Desalcott contract by 2028. So says Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez. And the main picture is President Christine Kangloo and her husband Kerwin Garcia. You know how long I have not spoken to Kerwin Garcia? Years. Look at Michaela's Nelson's project during a visit to the president's house by pupils of the San Fernando Government Primary School yesterday.
Well, that's excellent because in her inauguration speech, she said she wanted to open President's house to more children's visits. So that's excellent.
And on the back page, Paul shatters NCC record. Of course, that's Nicholas Paul. And so that's the front and the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And the Newsday, classes dismissed after deadly brawl, murder outside school. That's the front page story. And of course, the familiar men in white suits, in the white overalls. That's the main picture. Kamala slams PM's race allegations. And on the back page, captain's banter set stage for school's T20 finals. Fatima in a Prez slaying mood. And Malvern and Paragon top outdoor hockey tourney. So that's it for our three dailies this morning. Just give me a second while I give my laptop some juice. Apparently I was apparently
You're on the edge.
I didn't do what I was supposed to do last night.
Battery low.
Yeah, because I was doing something last night, and you know when you think you plugged it in but you didn't. That's what I did.
The question could be: are you worried about safety in the nation's schools? Yes or no?
Yeah, that covers it.
Yeah, yeah, generally. Are you worried about safety? That could be our question this morning. So we'll go with that. Steve, we have the results of yesterday's poll.
Yeah, let's get into it. Do you agree with the Prime Minister's suggestion that the bomb threats were linked to the no confidence motion? That was our poll yesterday. The results are in 79%. 7-9 said no. All right, so let's get into this morning's poll.
Yeah, the poll is this morning very simply based on the incident Friday and yesterday. Are you concerned about safety in the nation's schools? Yes or no?
Yeah. Simple question. Are you concerned about safety in our nation's schools? 222-8255. Toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. Of course, on our message board via our mobile app and website. And of course, on YouTube. Good morning to Anthony Tinto, always locked on, out in Canada. And Beauty Culture, good morning to you as well. Dennis says RSS Minister says Young said Regional Security System aircraft. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So let's get some votes in. Let's get some calls in. Starting off with Trev in Arima. Trev says yes. Ken E says yes. Marval on the road. Hell yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Rolling down here. Let's grab this call. Good morning.
Morning, Steve. Yes, not only the schools, the whole country. Yes.
Schools is part of it. No. I don't know. Yes. I really don't know. That's now, can you imagine 5 years from now? Oh, geez. Not even. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans. 866-525-1099. Our morning poll again.
Are you worried about the safety of our children in schools across Trinidad and Tobago? Is that was that a poll, right?
Pretty much.
Are you worried about the safety of the children of Trinidad and Tobago in schools across Trinidad and Tobago? That's our
Your
poll.
children, your nieces, your nephews, friends, family friends. And right now, everybody, pretty much, everybody is heading to school.
Yeah. Are you worried about safety in schools?
You know?
Are you worried about safety in schools across Trinidad and Tobago? Basically, that's the question we're asking.
Yeah, and these guys don't care where.
So 222 talk, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and app, you know what to do. People in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222 talk, 222-8255. What am I? Yeah, that's it. 222 talk. And of course, North Americans, it's absolutely toll free for you at 866-525-1099.
1099.
Are you worried about safety in schools across Trinidad and Tobago? That's our question this morning.
Yeah. Dennis says yes. Miss Bonnet West. Good morning, Miss Bonnet West. Yes. DJ Ray in Tampa. Yes. CJ out in New York. Says yes. She says, Paul, have a safe and enjoyable trip. Take Zena with you. Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona said, sadly, yes. Garth Celia, yes, very concerned. Mogast also says yes. All right. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Carol Guevara says, absolutely. Lorna, morning Lorna. Morning Carly. Morning Indy. But Lorna says yes. All right. Are you concerned about safety in schools? Pretty much. Your kids are going there. Yes or no? This comes after the shooting at the Monroe Road Hindu School. Sexy San Fernando says yes. And her daughter is probably going to school right now. All right. Ray in West Palm Beach, Florida says yes to the poll. What says you, caller?
Yeah, this is Trevor in Georgia. I say yes.
Sorry, you said something. Georgia. You're calling from Georgia.
I'm in Georgia,
All righty.
but my vote is yes.
Yes. All right, Georgia. Thank you so much. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans 866-525-1099. Huda Wells says yes. Thank you so much, Huda Wells. All right. Of course, next hour we will chat with Anita Haynes. I had a card for 7:40. Let me see if I can message her now to see if I can get her to come on at 7:15. Right. Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Let me do that now. Uther Young says yes. Beefy Smith says yes. Launch Park also says yes.
So, our poll, are you concerned about the safety of schools, well, of children in schools
Yeah.
across Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning.
Mm-hmm. All right, so 222-8255, 612-8255. Toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right? You're living in some times, I tell you. We are living in some times. Purists must be so nervous when there's children going to school. Ish out in Malik says yes. Paula, good morning, guys. Yes, definitely. All right, Paula, thank you so much, Ish. Of course, I was by our favorite hardware yesterday. You know, I can't pass the hardware. All right, so let's get a couple calls. Of course, our poll is going to stay up until tomorrow morning, where we give you the final results of our poll. All right?
I mean, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. Right after our news headlines, we'll give you the final results. So at 6:45 or so, around it. All depends if Richard wants to yap and not do headlines. Let's see. Any more votes coming in? We head towards our 7 o'clock major news on this May 2nd. And if you're in traffic somewhere, can't do nothing about it, can you? East-West corridor is beginning to build. Trin City straight up to Port of Spain with a little reprieve after Yui. Maraval, Diego Martin, Eastern Main Road, heading to Valencia roundabout. You've got some traffic. Rivulet Road. San Fernando is lighter than usual. Going through Princess Town as well from New Grant. You've got some traffic as well. Let's see. Any more votes coming through here? Any more votes? Let's see.
Are you concerned about the safety of schools in Trinidad and Tobago? Children in school.
Yeah, children in schools.
Isn't it typed up on the internet already
Let me check.
for people to vote on?
Let me check here. I'm checking. Nah, no, not yet. I got Ms. Maloney. Good morning, Doodoo. Ms. Maloney says yes. All right. Good morning to you, Pamela Phillip. All right. She's in. She's in. Evie is in. Evie is in. All right. So let's get into our major news on this, the 2nd day of May.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Teachers at Belmont Secondary School refused to work following assault of safety officer by gunman at school. Meanwhile, the shooting near Caroni Primary School yesterday led to the subsequent evacuation of students, and police investigations into Firearms Act continue. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Teachers at Belmont Secondary School are instituting an official refusal to work following last Friday's incident where a gunman assaulted a safety officer at the school. Their actions are being seemingly supported by parents who held a protest outside the compound yesterday and threatened to withdraw students from classes. Led by PTA President Shalanda Malcolm, they called on Education Minister Dr. Nayan Gadsby-Dolly to visit the school and address their concerns, which include the urgent need to strengthen security, increase the number of MTS officers, and repair several holes in the fence. President of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, Martin Lumpkin, told reporters on Monday that teachers at the school were working under less than acceptable conditions for a long time, and the incident was serious enough to warrant changes. Meanwhile, a shooting near a Caroni Primary School yesterday led to the subsequent evacuation of students. Police said 5 men in 2 silver Toyota Hilux SUVs drove through a dirt track to get to a piece of land behind the Monroe Road Hindu Primary School at around 10:30 a.m. While they were driving in, one of the SUVs knocked down a 34-year-old man. Men got out of the other SUV and chopped a 38-year-old man on his left wrist. A third man, identified as Ronnie Pear, was shot and killed in the attack. The incident occurred minutes following the call of the bell to end recess, and the children of the school had just resettled in their classrooms, but one teacher was outside of the yard with her Standard 1 class when it happened. Teachers, parents, and children of the school are said to have been left traumatized and scared, with several parents speculating that some children may not want to attend classes today. Living in fear is how one concerned resident from Blanchisseuse has described the present mood in the rural community following recent incidents of killing. Speaking during an interview with News Power Now on Monday afternoon, the resident said the village is still visited by people from the outside who patronize the annual jazz festival, beaches, guest houses, and the quiet and serene atmosphere of the area. The residents said the community has a close bond among the villagers, but since the unfortunate incident, people have become very concerned by the development.
What is actually happening is that you have residents who live in fear, not the fear of the family that is directly involved, but fear of reprisal. You may be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And that is more a concern. It even worries us more because of the fact that in Blanchisseuse, it's a small community, everybody knows everybody. So all the lives that have been lost is people that we know, people who we watch grow in our community. So yes, it is troubling, it is very concerning, not only to me as an individual, but I think to the entire community on the whole.
Police investigating the Firearms Act are well on the way and will continue. Police investigations into the Firearms Act are well on the way and will continue. Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines urged the officers to do so within the law. His comments come on the heels of a High Court judge decision to stay the criminal charges against firearms dealer Brent Thomas. In September 2022, Mr. Thomas was arrested but later released. Media reports say he was rearrested in Barbados and returned to Trinidad. He was later charged with possession of a series of weapons, including grenades and rifles. However, reports say in his constitutional motion, Thomas challenged his detention and the procurement of search warrants for his home and his dealership. Minister Hines spoke on the matter during a news briefing on Monday.
There are others who feel they have to benefit from this Brent Thomas thing. I've seen calls for all kinds of things in the newspapers. With the little facts available to me, members of the public, I know why you are hearing very loud voices. But as I told you, all police operations and investigations are ensuing and they will continue. There are those who feel that they could capitalize on the judge's comments to their own advantage and benefit. That is all right. And I urge the police to continue doing its work in accordance with the mandate in front of it.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The Oilfield Workers Trade Union is encouraged by the strong turnout of workers for yesterday's May Day celebrations held at OWTU Paramount Building, Circular Road, San Fernando, and ended at Harris Promenade. May Day is a celebration of laborers and the working class that is promoted by the International Labor Movement and occurs every year on May 1st or the first Monday in May. Speaking with News Power Now, Education and Research Officer of the OWTU, Ozzy Warwick, said the OWTU is satisfied by the high participation of workers and described it as a positive signal for the labor movement. Mr. Warwick said some of the issues addressed were the move by some employees to bring back a 12-hour work shift, the proliferation of contract labor, the length of time it takes for workers of a particular group to get trade union recognition, and concerns about crime in society.
That 12-hour workday was normal over 100 years ago. Society has moved on and recognizes that people need to rest and spend time with their family, which is why the 8-hour workday came into being. The other big issue is the question of contract labor, is having persons work with absolutely little or no benefits whatsoever. And that really creates a lot of insecurity for a huge amount of workers across the country. Length of time it takes for workers to get recognition or for the trade union to get recognition for any groups of workers. In Trinidad and Tobago, that process can take years. And that really denies those workers their right to and freedom of association.
Finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, generally sunny and at times breezy conditions. Low chance of the brief isolated shower. Nighttime will be fair despite one or two brief showers. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 32 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 28 degrees Celsius and 29 degrees Celsius, or 24 degrees Celsius rather, at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, teachers at Belmont Secondary School refused to work following assault of safety officer by gunman at the school. Meanwhile, the shooting near the Caroni Primary School, or a Caroni Primary School yesterday, led to the subsequent evacuation of students, and police investigations into the Firearms Act continues. Well, that was news on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail coming up at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right, that's exactly who we are. Welcome to the second hour of the Power Breakfast Show. Paul Richard Ragobarsingh, Ruben is in there somewhere. And of course, my name is Steve Khan. We'll keep you company until 9 o'clock this morning. That's when Sir Charles pops in. All right. Let's see if I have any more votes there. Richie Rich. Mo Gaines says, good morning to Avi and yes to the poll. I got Meb saying yes to the poll. All right, so if my calculations of what I'm hearing is correct, I got 100% saying yes. Richard will give us that final result.
No, well, you're absolutely correct, Steve. So a poll this morning was, are you concerned about the safety of schools across Trinidad and Tobago? We had 25 people voting in the allotted time, and it was a 100% positive reply in that people are saying, yes, they are concerned about the safety of schools across Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, which will be Wednesday and midweek already.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Midweek already. I love it. I love it. All right. So Anita Haynes will join us shortly. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see there was a fire around Victoria Square last evening. Did you all see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Which building was that?
I don't know. I'm trying to get some information on it. But I did send it to you guys. A business place, some business place on by Victoria Square. Right. And Paul is back. Paul, somebody sent a message here saying you're muted. That you should send Zena. You should go with Zena on your trip.
There's an article in the Express today. That's what was seen the streaming in the Express, where Israel Khan, senior counsel, has been interviewed about the situation in Iran West generally, and I'm just stating that he has no, probably had no role in the title of the article, but the article is titled "Indos the Victims, Afros the Invaders," and the articles in the article posted about an hour and a half ago in the Express. He's quoted as saying, "Race has nothing to do with home invasions, but the evidence shows that the victims are East Indians and the perpetrators are Afro-Trinidadians," says President of the Criminal Bar Association, Israel Khan Senior Counsel. He says, "I unhesitatingly agree that race has nothing to do with home invasions. These are crimes of opportunity. Nevertheless, it is an established fact, or rather the empirical evidence supports the conclusion that the great majority of home invasions in recent times are confined to the homes of East Indians. And the perpetrators of these horrendous crimes are young Afro-Trinidadians," he told the Express newspaper in an interview yesterday. However, Khan said these atrocious aberrations do not mean that East Indian homeowners are being targeted by these criminals because they are East Indians, noting the bandits seek cash, jewelry, and electronics and cars. Quote, open quotations, "The East Indians are helpless prey when the vicious criminals enter their homes. Most of the time, the young children and elders are brutally beaten in order for the homeowners to cooperate in handing over of cash, jewelry, and electronics to the invaders." Khan said they are really crimes of opportunity. He added he strongly supports enacting legislation to allow homeowners to stand their ground in protecting their lives and loved ones from being brutalized and robbed. Opposition leader Kamala Prasad-Bissessar has proposed the law and said she will take it to Parliament. Khan said a homeowner should have the right to kill a bandit once they enter their homes. And that's just part of the article. So, we can open the phone lines.
Just for a couple of minutes before MP Anita Haynes joins us.
I want to know what you think about that.
Your thoughts, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right. Of course, you can go on our mobile app and our website and vote on our poll.
It would be interesting for the Commissioner of Police to provide some data on the, and I don't know that's a productive exercise, quite frankly. I don't know that disaggregating home invasions or by ethnicity is going to do any good for Trinidad and Tobago generally, but that's just a statement I'll make in that regard. because, as Mr. Khan said, as Senior Counsel said, it's really about opportunity. And he said they're targeting persons whom they feel have what they want, illegally, of course. And I think when the conversation veers to race and ethnicity, particularly with things like home invasions, domestic violence, etc., which it has in the past, it is never a particularly productive conversation. But you're not dealing with the real issue. The issue is crime and the criminals who are not being apprehended by law enforcement enough. And I stress enough. 222 talk, 222-8255, 612-8255, and North Americans toll free.
Yeah. Got a call. Good morning.
Good morning.
No voice.
What?
That's no voice. Morning. You hearing me?
Next time say stop.
I've no voice. And that's
But shouldn't you be resting it then?
Yeah, but I go by name. Yeah. Hell no to this suggestion. Hell no.
All right, Zena. Thank you. Go rest your voice.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. I maintain what I said yesterday. I don't know if I made the contribution on your program, but I think the law as it stands now protects you for defending your property. So if somebody invades your home, you have the right to use any means necessary to protect yourself and your family in your home. So if you have a fishing gun, if you have a machete, if you have a hammer, you could apply whatever force necessary to protect yourself and your family in your home. Now, if a man comes by the road and threatens you, something else. But once he invades your perimeter, you have as the law stands right now, you have the right to protect yourself in your home right now. So they're reinventing the wheel by all these shenanigans these politicians talking about stand your ground law. We already have, it isn't called stand your ground law, but we already have that in place that you have the right to protect yourself in your home.
Let me ask a question. Richard, you're the attorney here. Is there a difference between a stand your ground principle in protecting yourself and somebody dying when you're protecting yourself? You're killing somebody. Would you, as it presently stands, be open to a manslaughter charge, or would stand your ground protect you from that, or insulate you from that? You're muted. Or we're not hearing you.
Yeah, stand your ground gives you much more leeway.
Thank you, caller.
Of the force used under the current law, and of course, common law and some maybe legislative, but it's basically common law. I think that you could use only proportionate force to what's taking place. And there was an interesting case years ago that came in when somebody had all sorts of booby traps in case anybody came into their house. And a bandit was coming into his house and their arms were cut off by the booby trap. And there was an investigation by the police. I can't remember if they were charged or not, whether that was disproportionate force. So there is a difference.
What are the parameters? What determines what is proportional? The judge?
You should not put anything on your property with the intent to kill anybody trespassing on your property. Okay?
Right. We got some calls.
That's a kind of a broad explanation.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. Stand your ground, of course, kind of reverses that principle and says you can do whatever. Once you've trespassed on my property, I can protect myself if I think you are
and my family
a danger.
Yeah. All right, we have a call. Good morning.
Morning, morning.
Morning.
Morning,
Yeah,
Mr.
morning, Ragobarsingh for everybody, morning. You know, I'm trying to understand people, you know. Somebody invade your house. Well, tell me about using proportional force. Them come in my house to kill me, kill my wife, my child, my dog,
No,
everybody.
you're going to the extreme example. Somebody could trespass into your property and you could
So they
have
come in there
booby
for,
traps
you know,
there.
the intention.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. The law looks at it in a graded way. If you are under threat of life and you protect yourself and the perpetrator dies, that's called self-defense. The police will
You're correct.
investigate and then they will decide whether, well, I am not charging you. But if somebody is attempting to come into your house but has not directly indicated that there any threat to your life, but you, let's say, booby trap your door, or you have some trap in your house that kills them instantly, you
All
may
right.
be subject to an offense in law.
But
All right.
given
I
the
was in
present
a case,
circumstances, Richard, what would
I was in
because
a case,
anybody who enters my house, I think they come into killing me
Yeah.
in my
Thank you,
mind.
Mr. Patrick.
yeah, hold on, one second. It's a case right now in the state where this young boy went and ring the wrong doorbell and the guy shoot him from inside.
But they
Right?
have different laws, Mr. Patrick. We're
The guy
talking about
he
Trinidad
was
and
under
Tobago.
threat, but the minute you jump in my house or my yard, I believe you're threatening me, you're invading my space.
Well, in that particular circumstance, the man was trying to claim stand your ground law because I think that incident took place in a state where stand your law operates. Vis-a-vis the other example where the young people were turning in the driveway and a young lady was
So I
killed.
don't,
That was in
what the
upstate.
driver
I think that
talking
was
about?
in
The guy
parts of
was
New
shooting
York
right through the
State.
door.
That was New York State, and there is no stand your law in New York.
Right.
So
But
it's really an
I just want
interpretation
to
of the
ask you,
law. But the basic
so
principle
at
I
what
can leave you
point,
with is that you
Mr.
cannot go out of
Ragobarsingh,
your way to intentionally harm or kill somebody, even if they are on trailer on your property.
all right, my little friend, so at what point in time I will feel that I seriously under threat?
Whatever point you feel, the police will investigate and decide whether they're charging you or not. So you
Well,
feel
tell
free to
people
do
who
what
come
you
into
want to
the
do
yard
to
now.
protect your property. The police will investigate and decide whether you need to be charged or not. They may say no,
Yeah, but the
we
police are
consider
coming
it
to protect you.
self-defense.
You got to protect yourself.
Well, I'm answering you. I am saying the police determines that in terms of the
The police,
evidence they acquire, because they will look at it and decide, well, okay, is this a self-defense situation? And if they are of the opinion that it is a self-defense situation, then they will not charge you.
all right, boss man, I listen.
That same situation recently,
When you jump me
where some
wall,
where
jump me
some
door, you
people,
come to kill me.
that same situation recently where people came in with guns to the business place and the homeowner was there and they shot and killed some of them. And the police investigated but didn't charge them.
Yeah, because it was a straight case.
Right, and I'm saying don't assume that the police are not going to investigate and determine whether a charge is layable or not.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
I
saying.
understand.
So you could do whatever it is you need to do to protect your family, don't get me wrong. But
Yeah, but you could.
the issue is that it will be investigated. Stand your ground. In other words, if I had to simplify it, stand your ground requires less investigation.
Protect
Because the
yourself.
person breached the perimeter.
Yes.
All right, listen.
All right.
It requires
Thank you, Mr.
less.
Patrick.
But Richard, whatever, in this environment where murder is so prevalent, and in some instances we've seen home invasions lead to people's family members getting brutally beaten and killed, elderly people included. So there's no age limit. There's no restriction from any category. I could legitimately, reasonably, as the law says, in the mind of a reasonable human being, think that this person has come in here. They have a gun in their hand and they're going to kill me and my family.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to do all my one of the rights enshrined in the Constitution is my preservation of life and my safety and the safety of my family, and I am charged with responsibility of protecting my family.
And that's where self-defense comes in, Paul.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that I could see an argument proffered by anyone who sees someone
And
into
maybe the TTPS, when they investigate, or the DBP, who ultimately is in charge of whether charges should be proffered against an individual or not, they can look at the circumstances and they may factor all of that in and say, well, in the current circumstances of Trinidad and Tobago, we don't think that this warrants a charge. They could make that determination. But the point I'm making is that they will investigate it to determine whether it is. So suppose it's a homeless person that crossed into your perimeter, for example, but really looking for something to eat.
Or somebody
and they entered your yard and they come up and they go by your back door and you say, oh God, I'm under threat. Kill them.
Well, the Prime Minister mentioned that he said someone climb up on your mango tree in your yard and you could say they're under threat and they shoot them.
Yeah. That is where, that's kind of an example of the variance or difference between stand your ground and the current law as it pertains.
Yeah, we have a call here. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Since you know who say bandits have rights, since then the bandits operating like Israel, your house belongs to them. This back and forth have the bandits thinking, well, they can do anything that they want to do with you. Mr. Paul, the police is doing their job. They're catching the bandits and the bandits being back out next day or how long. But I don't know what else the police could do. They're catching the bandits and going in one door, coming out the next.
If their detection rate, well, first of all, let me interrupt you. If their detection rate is not at 40% yet, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Paul.
It's not.
If their detection rate is not at 40% yet, they're hoping to get it to 40%. What bandits are they catching?
And the people make the statement about the people catching the bandits, but the detection rate is 20%. When? Where?
If their detection rate is 20%, it means 80% of the cases are unresolved. Nobody's being caught.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
All right.
It's math.
Thank you, San Fernando. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
No, this belief that we have this stand the ground law in Trinidad and stuff is, I think that is not correct, right? If it was so, the logic would tell you that the opposition won't propose and bring in a bill for it to be institutionalized in Trinidad and Tobago, right? I think what the law presently, what Mr. Ragobarsingh did say is that you use reasonable force, right? Because if it is that we go along the line that you perceive that someone enter your property there to the extreme of murdering you, and you use excessive force in terms of retaliation, then that person do not have any form of weaponry that indicates that they are there with intent, and especially if they didn't enter your premises in which you are secured, but in terms of your building, but rather than your yard. You understand? Then you go along the same problem that exists in the United States of America. All right? It's unfortunate, just referring to the indication, well, the situation with the judgment from the judge, the magistrate, that with the Brent Thomas case. Well, there are a lot of inadequacies in terms of what you stated, in terms of the use of our military aircraft. In terms of
we didn't state it. We mentioned there were questions about whether it was used or not. So please be accurate in your description.
Right. Well, I'm just based on what I assume that I heard you said this morning, right? So that the Minister of Energy in his response did indicate that it was, and something that people keep missing, right? Issue of a warrant must have passed through the DPP office in terms of advice. They must get a court order. They must have relations with the other institutions in terms of Barbados, the National Security Minister, who happens to be the Prime Minister of Barbados, right? and other institutions, Interpol, etc. Now, it doesn't mean that I would be cautious in terms of just relying solely on the judge statement until, as it was stated by the minister yesterday, that they're going to appeal the matter. And it's unfortunate that the media don't even carry that the DCP of police did made a statement pertaining to this particular case itself, in which they're advising that they thing. And also, the person was found with weapons that are not under the FUL in terms of it being illegal to have any possession, but yet the judge ruled that they give them back to him. Right? So I just need to mention those facts as it is. Thanks. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning.
So when we discussed it, we talked about process four, didn't we?
Hello?
Yeah, good morning.
Yes,
Very
morning,
nice.
gentlemen. You know, I'm listening to what you all were saying just now about you see somebody on your mango tree and you feel intimidated and shoot them. This seems like what our leader of the opposition wants. Because when Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is saying, if she gets into office, God forbids, she's going to give law-abiding citizens guns. This is what we will, I mean, I see this news yesterday with this Texas shooting where this man shot 5 people. This is what Kamala Prasad-Bissessar wants Trinidad to become. We already have, I was telling a friend yesterday, Winston Gypsy Peters Calypso has come to pass years ago. All you remember that Calypso, every shadow is a god man. This is what we're going through here in Trinidad, and you want to arm more people? Jesus Christ, well, boy, I wouldn't like if we had the right to bear arms, because we had the right to bear arms, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry Lal seem to have a gun. So this, I don't know, she really not serious? Because look what's going on in America, man. Every month is, or every week like is a mass shooting, and that's where you want to bring Trinidad to? And I want to tell the pundit something. I listened to him on TV6 this morning. The man do a foxtrot, a bolero. He go round the savannah, he go down south and come back. And all he had to say, and he would avoid all this bacchanal about the media this and the media saying what he didn't say. All he had to say was, the African youth are the ones shooting and robbing people, whether is in Aranguez, because it's only in Aranguez it's happening, is all over TNT. So to avoid all this bacchanal pundit Maharaj, that's all you had to say, and talk done. That spin and dance you're doing, it's helping. It's just making the thing get worse. Waste of time, pundit, with your nonsense. Come on, man. You want to talk, and you're saying, I am backing down on what I say, but yet still you're talking about the media, and the media saying what you didn't say. Oh, God, pundit, man, give me a break with that rubbish, no, man. Gosh, have a good day.
All right, Dingo Martin, thank you so much. 222-8255, toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right? That's our numbers directly into our studio. Of course, you're watching us on YouTube. You send us a message there as well, as we stream on all platforms, 6 to 8, Monday to Friday.
So we still taking your calls, 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, toll free at 866-525-1099. Of course, people on the web and app, you know what to do. Of course, just reminding you that this little piggy is tired, which just completed its run at Cipriani College, now moves to San Fernando on the 20th and 21st of this month. Of course, tickets will be on sale at the outlets in San Fernando from today. So the outlets are K Squared Fashions in C3 Center and in Gov City, and Pens of Marabella by the Roundabout, and Creme Fresh at Brentwood Mall in Chagonas, which Creme Fresh already has their tickets for those shows on Saturday the 20th at 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 21st at 6:30 p.m. We're having a wonderful time with this play, and I think people had a wonderful time over the weekend. I tell you, one of the crowds over the weekend, people were virtually screaming, screaming. I'm talking. So we're looking forward to that on the 20th and 21st of this month, May. Tickets on sale from today.
All right. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I hear when I hear that kind of rhetoric from your last caller there. First of all, United States, um, United States, one of the things that they're asking for in the United States is gun control laws, right? We already have gun control laws in Trinidad and Tobago. So there's a difference between when they issue guns in Trinidad to what they do in the United States. At the United States, at 16, you could get a firearm, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, you have to be over 25. In the United States, you don't have to pass a psychological evaluation to get a firearm. In Trinidad and Tobago, you do. So there will be significant things in place different to what will happen in Trinidad, or what happens in Trinidad, to why the incidents of mass shootings and things happen in the United States. So you must understand the difference in measures that are in place in Trinidad to circumvent anybody just mass shootings and all the difference. So we wouldn't be coming like the United States to give legal, law-abiding citizens, because the woman did using term, law-abiding citizens that fulfill the requirements. In the United States, they don't have requirements. Anybody could get a gun. Hence the reason you have all these mass shootings. In Trinidad and Tobago, you have requirements, you have checks and balances in place to circumvent the mass shootings that you will have. That is to say, you will not get a man killing your wife, a man killing a woman killing your husband. These things happen. But the mass shootings that you will get in the that you have in the United States, I think we would not have that amount of that incidents of that in Trinidad and Tobago, because we have measures in place to circumvent that. All right, so I don't understand the concept of criminals have guns, but let me do arm law-abiding citizens. Lead them with their illegal firearms, and let me just be sitting ducks and take robbery, take gun butt, take pistol whip, just take whatever you get, because you don't want to put arm law-abiding citizens. You don't want to arm business people who are targets. You don't want to arm people in their home. Now, you could issue weapons for strictly home use. So your weapon can't leave your house. That is home protection, right? So it's not a keep and carry. You don't be walking around the town with it. You just have that personal weapon for your home defense. There's another thing that we could look at doing.
All right.
All right. So
thank you.
Chalk and cheese and try to compare us to the United States. That is not going to happen.
All right. Thank you. All right. 39 minutes. 39 minutes after the hour is 7 o'clock. Yes, definitely. After looking at two of you all. Good morning to you, MP Anita Haynes. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well. How are you all this morning?
Not too bad at all. Better now.
Not as good as you.
Not as good as me. Why you say that?
Because you're looking absolutely beautiful this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I made the extra effort because I knew I was coming here. I was going to be on Zoom, right? So I said, okay, I made the extra effort. So I'm very glad to be here. Very glad to be joining you this morning. You know, I'm doing well. I am in the middle. Well, Tuesdays are my office days. So after this, we'll see constituents throughout the day. You know, we're in our prep for the rainy season. So, you know, things are coming along as best as they can.
How is Tabakeet doing?
Tabakeet is in the middle of our cricket season. This is my first year as an MP where we had no COVID lockdowns, etc., no restrictions. And so, you know, the Easter experience was really, really good to see people coming back out for church events, sports days, etc., followed very quickly by Eid and those events. So I mean, being able to connect as a community has been a really exceptional experience for the past few months of 2023, and I look forward to see what else the year brings.
Now, you're the Shadow Minister for Education, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Let's talk about Friday first, and that disturbing occurrence on Friday. And I saw a Facebook post, I think it is, with you condemning the attacks. And what are your thoughts on how that evolved and what it means for education and systems for security in schools moving forward?
Yeah, I sent out a press release on Friday, cognizant of the fact that we were still in the process of gathering information on one hand and evidence on another. Yes, I do, and I join the nation in condemning the actions. I think that we stood on a line of trying to understand a space of trying to understand where we can go from mischief to mayhem very quickly, where you get these threats and how we react as a citizenry. I mean, we know Trinidadians could be very nonchalant, we could be very blasé about things, and you get it and you say, all right, well, we'll move over to the muster points and whatnot. And then when you realize several schools, so the reports kept coming into several schools, and then you said, okay, well, what is happening? I think that the response of the Minister of Education in the press conference was measured and as informative as it could have been. But then that was quickly followed by the response of the Minister of National Security in Parliament, which was the opposite. And it was a time when we needed the executive members of the government to come forward and show that there was some sense of control to create a safe space of calm, that you understand what information you have available and you lay out the next steps. And we as a nation, I think, want to see very clearly that there are consequences for actions, that we take things very seriously, and that we understand that we have something to learn. We have something to learn about preparedness. We are going into the CSEC and CAPE examination spaces that we use the terrible and very atrocious actions that we saw on Friday, but we use that to learn something so that we are better prepared and that we're not caught in a chaotic response at every juncture. And I think that I hope very, very sincerely that something like Friday never happens again. But as policymakers, while we live in hope, we also have to be able to execute and plan for things that we may not wish to plan for.
You're muted, Paul.
Thank you for the buff, Richard. The threat to Friday is the toner. You are muted, Paul. There was a situation in Belmont where a gun-toting assailant entered the school and threatened one of the people in the school. The parents had been calling for intervention where the school fence was broken for a while. This morning, we heard news at a Carney Primary School Monroe Road, where another incident has traumatized students. Do you think there are additional systems that we need to put in place now? Because these are among the most vulnerable of our population's children now are being directly affected. A couple of months ago, we heard about the shooting in, is it Rose Hill Primary School, around Rose Hill Primary School? Not in, but around, which the students were exposed to. So it's becoming more regular now, unfortunately.
I think, and I'm glad you brought up Rose Hill because that's where I was going to start. Look, I mean, when we come on here and as persons in the political space and engaged in what I hope would always be a policy making discourse, you hear things about, and it's something that I will always speak against when people talk about what means to politicize an issue. And so when we were discussing Rose Hill, there's a lot of noise about whether or not you're politicizing an issue. But politics is about policy making. You engage in a type of politics to get into a space to be policy makers. And so when we had a discussion around Rose Hill, it was to say, let us be better prepared. We understand what the murder rate, we understand what crime in Trinidad and Tobago is. We know the space that we live in. It is naive, it is irresponsible to believe that the schools and children, when they go into the school, are somehow excluded from regular Trinidad and Tobago society. That just because you are in a uniform in school, that you are somehow protected. Being armed with that knowledge, then do something about it. Understand that teachers, students require some extra protection. So when we had the incident with Rosel, you had again a very irresponsible Minister of National Security telling us that the shooting didn't happen in the school. Okay, we knew that. We knew that. Nobody was asking that. What we saw was a horrific video of these babies hiding under desks because they heard these gunshots. And we said, okay, do something about it. Is it a static patrol? Is it increased foot patrol? Do something about it. And then if you had take on Rosel as a learning opportunity and not a space to be defensive about your record, but proactive in going forward, what we would have had today is an understanding that maybe you're looking at static patrols. I mean, I cannot speak to the resources of the TTPS, but somebody can. It's somebody's job too. And so they really could tell us, is it a static patrol near school systems? Is it more foot patrol? Do you bring in more community police? How do you employ municipal police? And these are things that these are accountability checks that you can bring to the population. Is it that in spaces like Shugwarnas, etc., you double up with municipal police and the TTPS? There are things that can be done. There are productive, sensible conversations that can be had. There are measurable outputs that we can look at so that you can say, all right, since last year we've had 0 incidents within the school, within certain mile radius around schools, etc. And so absolutely it is, very horrifying when you hear school has to be dismissed because a murder took place, that our children now are growing up and understanding a level of violence that I never had to grapple with as a child. That these are the same children that went through a pandemic already and are already readjusting from online to being back into school. And then when they get into school, they're hearing gunshots. That when I stated in my press release on Friday, Minister of Education at a subsequent juncture come back and tell us what we're putting in spaces for mental health within the school system. Let us look at our student support services. Let us look at bolstering our guidance counselors. And let us have these types of accountability. So you're coming to the population, you're saying, listen, something happened on Friday. I, as Minister of Education, can tell you, in these schools, we have deployed an additional X number of student support services officers to assist with making sure students are able to process what happened on Friday. Similarly, what happened in Belmont, also, I cannot explain how much it pains me on any level to have to discuss infrastructural concerns. We ought not to treat the repair of a fence as some sort of massive undertaking by way of a job. You know the fence is broken, get the fence fixed. It really doesn't. It doesn't take a committee. It doesn't take a meeting. It doesn't. And that these are the things that are creating chaos within our society. A broken fence, come on. Again, be responsible for the things you are responsible for and ensure that the things that you can get done. And then we'll work on your others. But if you can't fix small problems, how are we going to expect it to fix big problems?
And it leaves you wondering what are the infrastructure works in other schools across Trinidad and Tobago that need to be addressed from a safety perspective.
Absolutely.
Because Belmont is one that was showcased because of a particular incident that ramped it up with regard to the gunmen coming into the school compound. Because a listener to the program, Sankofa, was mentioning it today, why do we have to wait till a circumstance like that happens to register that we need to address an issue that needed addressing prior to that?
Well, in addition to that, and Anita would know this, there are systems in place for large-scale infrastructural upgrades, but there must be a system in place for emergency remedial work that threatens the lives and safety of students that is expedited. It can't be that take a month or 3 months to go through the normal process of large-scale infrastructural upgrades. It can't be the same.
Correct. Correct. I think last year as well, just as school had reopened, you had the concrete block falling on our students in one of these schools. Again, these things are things that ought not to be happening. And if it does happen, well, again, use it as a space to learn from it. And you're right, Paul, listen, I've spoken to a number of persons within the system, and there's a ticketing system for school repairs so that you put in you enter it into the online system and it's ticketed, so you know it's either pending, has been approved, etc. The purpose of putting these things online is to make it less bureaucratic. I don't know how we managed that an online system made it more bureaucratic in the space that things are being marked as completed, and the students and teachers are sitting there and you could see it's not done, but you're marking it off as completed because checking it off online it works for you in your reporting mechanism, but you aren't considering the fact that real people are affected by these changes. And Marabella North Secondary School last year had remained, virtually a construction space, and they were telling me when they looked online, things were shown as completed that they could see,
Terrible.
So,
In our last moments, I want to move to one of my real deep points of concern. I know you share this concern. When you were in the Senate, you would remember that I, on several occasions, raised the issue of the 25, I had calculated about 2,500 to 3,000, depending on the year of SCA, not completing secondary schools and or primary schools, and raising it in a I think it's an urgent question, a question for all answer, or a motion on the adjournment. And then Education Minister, in my opinion, Garcia didn't answer it. He focused on the motion itself. But now it's come back up in a report in the newspaper about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we don't seem to understand that those are just the ones who fall through and we don't know about them. There are others who are barely making it through the system. So if you add that 3,000 to the others who barely make 30%, and if you understand what 30% means as a placement parameter, we have a lot of work to do. We focus on the ones who do work hard, and we should celebrate the ones who work hard and excel. But the ones who really need the attention and the resources, somehow they're not getting it. Those are in the 40th percentile and below, and don't understand the link between that and some of the criminality we're seeing. And it boggles my mind that we don't understand that the education system is the greatest tool, or one of the greatest tools we have for societal remediation.
I think we do understand, but how it is executed it's just not the way I think it ought to be executed. I'll say it like that. Look, yes, this has been an ongoing concern. More importantly, one of the biggest data sets that has been available to the public was made available because of the JSC that you chaired, which was the number of students never accessing online services, online school services, which was 47,770 thereabouts, right? Let's think about that. These students never logged in. Not that they logged in once and then come back on. Not that they logged in but couldn't pay attention because they were on a phone that was being charged. And no, they did not access online education. And then from that Joint Select Committee, which is 2021, right, which was the only available data, the only data made available to the public via a Joint Select Committee of Parliament, not via the Ministry of Education saying, let us partner with our communities to make sure students are accessing online spaces, or let us partner with our representatives to make sure students return to the physical system. None of those things, via a Joint Select Committee. We took that information, we did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing with it. And so the report that came out about 3 weeks ago ought to have surprised no one. Because if you miss 3 years of school, and we are expecting that many of these students are not returning to the physical system, so if it's because of a financial issue, if it's because of a connectivity issue, if it is because that when you miss 2 years, if you do not have a home space that creates an environment that you can catch up, they are not going to send you.
But let me add something to that. When we came out of COVID, the ministry commendably, and I say commendably, allocated some funding for remedial work because of the learning loss that was identified.
But for that remedial work,
And that was just for transitioning students. And we've heard
correct.
nothing else about the other students who are learning loss since
No.
then.
So if you never made it to standard 5, you are never benefiting from that remedial work. If you dropped out at standard 3, if you dropped out, you are never. And if you dropped out at form 2, you are not making the remedial work. And mind you, if you drop out between everywhere before you do CSEC, it's the same thing because it's the same jobs they have to apply for. If you made it all the way to form 4 and you drop out, it's the same space as if you drop out at standard. You understand?
But there's physically dropout
And
dropout in terms of academic performance where you stay in the system but you're not
correct.
coping.
Correct. And there are a couple of things. One of the things that are being pushed right now, that I have absolutely no issue with, is the getting into the tech fox spaces so that you make your academic requirements as needed, but you learn a skill set. Good idea, poor execution as usual, because the information coming to me is that we have not been certifying tech fox teachers. So you've made an announcement and there's nobody to teach a class. And so is that another 2 and 3, 4 years of persons being left out? The systems have been in place. I hate to come onto any program or address any version of the public that I'm being able to access and create an idea that this is a system without hope. The fixes for these systems, they exist, they are possible, there are people willing to do the work. We have to look at, one, the level of bureaucracy we have. We have a space where we have persons who are highly qualified, who are unable to get into the teaching system. We have persons who are unable to get their certification, etc. And so if the government takes a proactive look at ensuring that we can get persons into the system and maintain a high standard by continuous assessment and testing, and not create this bogged down entry system that we are not able to get educators into the system, we would be in a better place. Where we look at partnering the social interventions and utilizing the school system to partner with social intervention, so that you do not wait till they are out of the system to find them, but you create. I mean, I am sure Ministry of Social Development has a database. I am certain Ministry of Education has a database. Just get together and figure out who's in the system that requires our help and get the help to them. And you will start to see
But the system has the data, because I saw a report about 8 or 7 years ago that identified the poor performing educational districts generally. Of course, there were bright spots in between the districts. And there were trends that the ministry can use as data points to pour resources for intervention. So the data is there, because we assess students on a semester basis, on an annual basis.
Yes, and so that's why I'm moving away. I am aware the data is there. It is, are you using the data to make policy? That's the question. Are you utilizing the data in your policy making? Which is why I always say after every press conference, treat the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago with due respect. Tell us what data you're using that inform this policy. And if you made it up out of nowhere, because that's just what you feel like doing, well, tell us that, and then we'll make our decisions in the future if that's how you want to make policy. But we are aware the data is there. The question is the data informing the policy decisions that we're seeing? Is it creating a direction?
In closing, I'll just tell you that there's an inquiry ongoing now that I can't talk about it much because you know the standing orders. We've gone onto the ground interfacing with early childhood care centers. And a lot of what the ministry's data is saying, I would say, maybe through no fault of the ministry or the minister or the PS, but maybe people on the ground are feeding inaccurate information to the ministries. That's what I'll say. And that needs to be examined in terms of the accuracy and the validity of the information.
I will say this, that a big part of why, probably the only part of why I entered politics, or the world of politics and frontline politics to be specific, is because I've always understood that our systems are created by people, and the people in the system can make the system better or worse, right? And so I encourage everyone tuned in here today, wherever you are in Trinidad and Tobago, whichever system you are in, let us commit ourselves to making those systems better. Let us look at things like accountability, about the task at hand, and putting our best foot forward. Because we always sit here and say, okay, this isn't working, but it's regular Trinidadians and Tobagonians from the top come down, right? Creating the system that we are all frustrated by. And so I think together, just by personal commitment on one level, and certainly by personal commitment on the highest levels, we can get the type of Trinidad and Tobago that we hope to see.
I'll share a document I just got with you from one of our scholars in Trinidad Tobago. She was a classmate of mine in undergrad, and she completed her PhD in 2020, and her dissertation title was Youth at Risk Behaviors Within the School System in Trinidad and Tobago, Loma Linda University. So I'll share it with you.
Okay,
it's quite
excellent.
Yeah, all right, Anita, thank you for being with us. We appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm always willing to join your program. It's always good fun. So thank you.
It's always good to see a wonderful face. I have to deal with Steve and Richard, and that could be kind of mentally distracting. Have a great day and be safe, Anita.
All the best, Anita.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day to all your listeners.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, let's
I want to say goodbye to all our streamers. We sometimes forget to tell you thank you for logging on between 6 and 8. Have a great day. Our stream continues on Power 102 Digital after our 8 a.m. newscast,
which starts right now.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
The UNC Shadow Education Minister Anita Haynes says the recent school